Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we are continuing the Pokémon SoulSilver Nuzlocke. Last time we managed to make our way to Cedarwood City and managed to beat the local gym leader in a rather disappointing battle. And we returned to Olivine City in order to cure the Ampharos Amphi of its affliction, thus granting us access to the Olivine Gym now. Ah man, it's been a while since the last session, hasn't it? And yeah, mostly spending that time just getting ready for some of the stuff we would be doing in this session, and feel like things are going to be quite interesting going forward. We got a little bit of a gap before we go challenge our next gym, but there's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to get to show off. First, I wanted to go into the PC to kind of show off some of our reserves here. Because since last time, I wanted to train up quite a few Pokemon that we had in the box. And we managed to get quite a few of them evolved, like Jasper and Sarah, Gamesphere, and Patchy. Let me tell you, trying to train up Pokemon that only have access to recoil moves by level up was very frustrating. But managed to get these all trained up, and also spent some time leveling up some other Pokemon while we were just raising everybody up. And one of our Pokemon is going to receive a little bit of a boost going forward. So, Chlora here is able to evolve through one of two methods, either by a Leaf Stone or with a Sunstone. And one of those items you can receive as a prize by doing the bug catching contest at the National Park. And in between streams, let me tell you, I was attempting the frickin' bug catching contest so many times. Like every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday when it was available. And for the longest time, I could not get the grand prize from this. However, literally, this morning, I finally succeeded. So yep, we were able to acquire a Sunstone. So with that, we can evolve Chlora whenever we want. Which would be nice, because she could be some very good backup if something were to happen to Dottie. And felt like now would just be a nice time to mention that the reason I was going for the Sunstone for Chlora's evolution is because I felt like it would be the better of the two options. Since this is a randomizer run, I feel like it would be nice to mainly have a grass type on standby rather than a grass poison type in case we run into any psychic type trainers going forward. If we ever decide to add Chlora to the team. Alright, with all that taken care of, we are pretty much ready to get started on our adventure going forward. So we're not going to be heading off to any of the gyms at the moment. I want to take care of some stuff that is now available to us. For starters, back here in Olivine City, there is something we're able to do here that I did not grab during our first visit to this area. We could have obtained this before when we first had access to Surf, but I just completely forgot about it until this point. So, want to quickly grab this before we get started on the main dealios we're going to be doing here. Also felt like it would be nice to mention that, as you can tell from our Pokelink display there, I also trained up our Pidgeotto Cookie quite a bit, as he's going to be our main fly user throughout this adventure, depending on how things go. So yeah, we'll be bringing Cookie in every now and then when I feel like he'd be very useful to us. Just being able to quickly transport the party all across the Johto region to places that we had previously been. And hello there, Javier, welcome to the stream. Alright, so over here, just around the lighthouse is this very remote little beach area. And we get TM for Rock Tomb here. So normally you'd be able to get the TM for Charge Beam here, which is definitely useful for a lot of the water types you're going to be encountering in this area. And yeah, with that taken care of, we're just pretty much good to go. So yep, our destination here, we're going to be heading to Cianwood City, because from this point, we are now able to access some new areas that we couldn't access before. And at this point, I think it's okay for us to box Cookie. So let's get you back into the box. And who are we going to be bringing back in? Yep, Sahara could definitely get some more action. Well, you already received a lot of action back in the last session, but it's always good just to have our little ground hippo around, especially because she is relatively close to getting a very nice upgrade for herself. A few of our Pokemon are actually very close to getting some very nice upgrades. So that's definitely something we can look forward to. Want to heal up here because we got quite a few battles ahead of us. So yeah, besides training up Pokemon, I'd also spend a lot of our free time in between our sessions just making a lot of Pokeballs over at Kurt's. So now we have a very good supply of Pokeballs for our journey ahead. If I remember correctly, there was an item over here we didn't grab. Yeah, we'll save that for later since I don't have access to Rock Smash with these Pokemon yet. Well, yeah, we're going to be heading to the Cliff Edge Gate. Did you know there's a Safari Zone just around the corner? It's really fun. You'll see many different kinds of Pokemon, and it's all you can catch. There's no reason not to go right, just around the corner. Won't take too long. Why don't you drop by, won't you? Sure. Alright, just over there. Go up the stairs and you'll be outside. Then it's only a few paces away. So now that we have cleared up everything at the Olivine Lighthouse, those workers that were over here blocking the path are now gone, allowing us to move forward. One day. Now welcome to Route 47. This is a pretty interesting area, as this whole section here to the west of Cianwood is completely new content for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So yeah, it's nice we're getting to see some fresh new things that we had not previously experienced during our original Gold streams. Ooh, Beautifly. That could be... I don't think that's going to be too bad for us. Let's go for the headbutt. Normally be a little worried about this thing because they do naturally learn some grass moves, but Sahara is so high level compared to this thing that I'm not that worried. Yep, it has Absorb, which is pretty low power compared to what this thing could have. As a good first battle for Sahara in this session. Next up is Quillfish. It is lower level than us. I'm gonna cure this paralysis so that we don't have to worry about this. Also a little thing I want to know, we have quite a few lava cookies. That's because those items are actually the held item that wild Weedles can carry in the randomizer. And wouldn't you know it, I was catching a lot of Weedles for the bug catching contest, so we have a few of those. There's also a few other items we received as consolation prizes for not getting first in the bug catching contest, but they're really not that important to us. So we're not really going to talk about that. Ooh, almost took out the Quillfish. God, this is a Pokemon that for many years I wanted it to gain an evolution and have a lot more attention, and thankfully in the last couple of years, it finally did get that with its regional form, which also had an evolution to it in the form of Overquill. Man, so good. But what's not so good for Sahara here is this Quagsire. But what is good is that Dottie's able to take advantage of this thing's sunlight. Man, it is such an unfortunate outcome for this Quagsire that it is able to summon the sun, as that's going to make this be way more effective against you. It's always funny when the randomizers just give a Pokemon ability that is borderline detrimental to their playstyle. With that, we beat this hiker in our path. Oh, got a call from Liz. What's up? This is Liz. Hi, Tanya. How are you? This is Liz. I'm fine, but I'm bored silly. Huh? Wrong number? Oops, sorry. Never change, Liz. Yeah, the team's looking pretty good so far. So let us press onward. Yep, let's go ahead and fight you. Yeah, this area is quite cool. You never really got to see these kind of areas back in the Game Boy games where you have these very high cliffs overlooking the ocean. So, just quite a nice little sight to see here. Definitely expands a bit on the scenery in the Johto region, which this remake has already done a really good job making the Johto region even more beautiful than it looked on the Game Boy. And just having these whole new areas that we get to explore, it's very nice. Alright, we can finish you off with a bite. You do have a water move, but that's not going to do much to us. Yeah, Anarif are not really special attackers, and you're not getting a stab bonus from that water gun, so it's really nothing to worry about there. Hera gets up to 30. Zubat. You should be pretty easy for us to handle. Very good. I should be headed deeper into the mountain, I guess. Yes. Ooh, big mushroom. That gets us some good money here. Also be a good idea to just check around here with the item finder just to see what you can get. I've got a little cave over here, which actually does take us into a new area. Cliff Cave. If you see a fork in the road inside a cave, most likely one way is right and the other leads to a dead end. People can't help trying both. Do you want to go up the ladder or go down the ladder? We are going to head down first. Yeah, kind of spoilers, but the main progression in this area is you want to go up to go forward here. But while we're here in Cliff Cave, this is a new area where we can encounter Pokemon at. So how about we just look around and see what we can encounter? We could probably get some really high tier stuff. Larvitar! Yes, I've been waiting so long to encounter one of these. So Larvitar here is one of the pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Specifically, this is the first stage of the Tyranitar line. A rock ground type that eventually becomes a rock dark type. This thing is real good, and I definitely want to catch one of these. Alright, go ahead and set up the Sandstorm. That's really not going to benefit you right now. Alright, one more headbutt should get you weak, and then we can go for the capture. This is going to be a little awkward, though, because pseudo-legendary Pokemon typically have very low catch rates. So, this Larvitar is definitely going to put up a bit of a fight here. Luckily, we do have Ultra Balls. It's definitely something I wanted to do in between sessions, is make sure that we're all stocked up on Pokeballs for the journey forward. Wow, we got on the first try. Very good. Oh, this is so great. I can't wait to actually start to use this thing. For those that don't know, I was doing a randomizer run in Platinum a couple months back, and unfortunately I was using a Larvitar on my team, but it ended up dying in an incredibly stupid way. So, very excited we're getting some redemption here. Alright, so what are we going to name you? There is one thing that came to mind that I feel like would be very appropriate. Atlas. Strong name for a strong little guy. Alright, that is hella satisfying. Just any opportunity to catch a pseudo-legendary during a Nuzlocke run is a good one. So I've definitely had quite a few opportunities where I was actually able to do so. Not just in randomizer runs, but some vanilla runs. One that was really good was in a Sun Nuzlocke. I managed to catch a Beldum, which are notoriously hard to catch because they have a recoil move as the only thing in their moveset, as well as the fact that they have a really low catch rate. Like a catch rate that's so low that typically legendary Pokemon have. But yeah, that was a very fun experience to actually get to use that rare Pokemon on the team. It was so flippin' good and was such a solid teammate. Right, but down here we're in the lowest section of Route 47. And considering what we saw around here, I'm thinking we're probably not going to take the path to the right here. We're going to head left, because I believe that's where a hidden item is located. Nice to grab one of those. Ooh, Lombre! Alright, so this is Route 47, so that means we also get an encounter here. Lombre, definitely a good one. But I'm gonna need to grind up for a water stone off screen if I want one of these. I'm pretty sure we don't have one in our inventory. But yeah, this is definitely a good one. I've always been a fan of the Lotad family, and this one would be pretty good to use. Why not? We'll try a Lure Ball. It matches you in terms of your colors. Alright, we actually got it. Yeah, this would be a pretty good one to use. So the Lotad family is actually the version counterpart to the Seedot family in most games. So it's quite nice to see that we had both the Seedot and the Lotad family during this run. As I said before, Water Grass is a fantastic type combination, so this could be useful to us in the future. But what are we going to name you? Kind of the first thing that came to mind here was Cucumber, which I feel fits it very well because it is a grass type, and also the fact that the Lombre family are based on Kappas, which are Japanese yokai that are associated with cucumbers. So, sure, we'll call you that. Also, cucumbers have a lot of water in them compared to most other vegetables, so I feel like that's very fitting. Alright, so already we got 2 new encounters in this area. And believe it or not, we're gonna get another encounter very close by here. Ooh, Max Revive. That's not gonna be that useful to us, although we can sell that. Now, I want to go a little bit farther on the water here to kind of show some stuff that isn't going to be important right now, but will be important later down the line in this run. More specifically for, like, endgame stuff. Vulpix, that would have been a sweet encounter, too, but yeah, personally more of a fan of Lombre's final form than I am of Ninetales, so yeah, ultimately, I'm glad we got the Lombre over this. Also be a good idea for us to battle as many Pokemon as we can through this area, because we definitely got a lot of levels to get before we're able to challenge the next gym. Alright, as you can see here, this is pretty much the end of the road here. We would be able to scale the cliffs here much later on to be able to access more of this route. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that at the moment, so we are just going to head forward. Hello there, Apple Try. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're playing a bit of Pokemon SoulSilver here. Specifically, this is a challenge run where we are doing a Nuzlocke run, and all wild Pokemon encounters and trainer battles are randomized. So it's definitely going to be a unique experience compared to what we normally have here in this game. And especially going to be a way different run than the gold streams that I did many years back. But yeah, I believe that's about all I want to do on the lower section of this route. Oh, apple tree. Okay, that's very fitting. And we can never really know for sure because of the spelling, so definitely appreciate that being cleared up. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything on the lower section we'll want to do. So, I think we're just good to head upward. So, a neat little thing about this area that I really like. Cliff Cave here definitely adds some very nice encounters that can liven up your vanilla Heart Gold and SoulSilver experience. For one, this is the earliest point in the game where you'll be able to encounter Misdreavus, which back in Gold and Silver was a Pokemon you wouldn't be able to get until the second half of the game. And in Cliff Cave, there's a very rare chance you can actually run into Onix's evolution Steelix, which is really cool. 1 + 1 is 2, but the two of us together is much stronger. The two of us aren't just some boring pair. Oh boy, we're gonna be in the thick of it here. So these two ace trainers are quite infamous in base game. They have a freaking Fione! Believe it or not, that's actually a legendary Pokemon. It is statistically the weakest legendary Pokemon you can possibly encounter in this game, but it's still a legendary Pokemon. Anyway, as I was saying, this specific trainer battle is quite infamous in Vanilla Heart Gold and SoulSilver, because this pair uses an Electabuzz and a Magmar, which, as you can tell, are two very powerful Pokemon by this point in the game, and they're decently high level at this point, so they could have a good chance of knocking out your Pokemon if you're doing a Nuzlocke run. It's definitely a very formidable fight, and they've given me a bit of trouble in the past, but nothing too bad. Alright, so Fione, we're gonna have an easy time with you, because again, you're a baby. So a little known fact about this specific Pokemon that I'm sure I brought up back during my Platinum streams. But this is a legendary that you can only obtain by breeding. Specifically, you need to breed a Manaphy with a Ditto, and then the resulting baby will be a Fione. So it's kind of interesting that Manaphy and Fione are technically related, but Fione will never evolve into a Manaphy, so, like, what's even the point? Yeah, it's just kind of a weird Pokemon, and its design isn't even all that great compared to Manaphy. It just feels like kind of a waste of a Pokemon moves position in the Pokedex, which really not all that great about saying about most Pokemon, as I do feel like pretty much all of them have their purpose in the series and in this world. But, I don't know, I never gelled with Fione. I just think it's a waste of a potentially cool Pokemon because, yeah, it doesn't evolve, and it's just pitifully weak when it comes to legendary Pokemon standards. Alright, with that battle taken care of, it's time to move on. So I believe over here, gotta go a bit farther, but we're getting close. Let's see what this is. A nugget! Alright, we're able to get some good money here. That's an easy 5,000 Pokebucks. And got ourselves another double battle here. Watching over my girlfriend makes my heart soar! Oh yeah! My heart's feelings for my boyfriend are as wide and deep as the ocean. Sorry, I just had to give that guy the Duff Man voice. His name is Duff. Oh, boy. That's a Rampardos. Definitely want to take care of that thing. So as I stated before, this thing is one of the strongest physical attackers out of any Pokemon. Let's take care of this thing immediately. So have Dottie use Fake Out, which should hopefully keep it from doing any moves this turn. And yep, Snorkel was just able to take it out because Snorkel is a badass. Yeah, that could have been really messy. I don't believe Rampardos has any scary moves this early on, but that thing still has a massive freaking attack stat, and I didn't want to deal with that. But anyway, what I was meaning to say regarding this specific battle we're doing. So this particular pairing is also kind of infamous, but not in the way you'd expect. So in Vanilla Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the Pokemon that these two use, which are a pairing of a boy and a girl, is Onyx and Cloyster. I'm gonna let you all just kind of connect the dots with that particular entendre. I was no match for you! Oh yeah! Got another call from Mom. Just everyone's giving us some good money here. So I wonder how close we are to getting the final of the exclusive items our mom can get us. Nah, we're probably not that far off from getting it. So, just have to keep being persistent with saving our money. We definitely have a lot of good money reserved in our bank, so it could be nice to withdraw some money in the future. At least once we are all done with getting all of our major rewards from our mother. But yeah, by heading up north here, we are now on Route 48. Which will give us some new encounters, obviously. This little patch here. So what can we find? Umbreon! Ooh! That is really lucky, because you don't usually run into evolutions in the wild. This could be quite useful, especially in a Nuzlocke, because Umbreon have really good defenses. This thing is mainly built to be a tank, and it does its job very well in that regard. It learns a lot of status moves to help disorient opponents. Its defense and special defense are really high, making it really good at being able to weather attacks from enemies as they dish out the debuffs. It can also support its allies with some nice healing moves. It is definitely a very useful Pokemon, one that I could easily recommend. Alright. So you're probably going to be really hard to catch, so just want to make sure we have a status move we can use on you. Yeah, it looks like our best bet is Sahara. Also just feel the need to mention that Umbreon just such a cool design. It has marble scale. Ooh, that could be really useful to us. So that doubles the defense stat of the Pokemon if it's afflicted with a status ailment. That could be really good if we happen to find a certain item that can actually inflict status ailments on Pokemon. But yeah, this Pokemon just really has it all. Just great stats, a great move pool to fulfill its role as a tank. Just a great design. Definitely up there as one of the most popular of the EV evolutions. And with that, we actually caught it. Very nice. Alright, so as customary with our streams, I like to give our people in the chat an opportunity to nickname some of the Pokemon we catch. So, Javier and Appletree are still here. Are there any nicknames that you could recommend for this guy? Yeah, another aspect of Umbreon that I really like is its association with the moon, and compared to a lot of the other evolutions, it has a lot of traits taken from rabbits, which is very fitting given the association that rabbits have with the moon in Japanese folklore. Okay, so I kind of have an idea for what I'm going to call this one, if we're not getting any suggestions here. But I was thinking that we could name him Neil, after Neil Armstrong, the first man to set foot on the moon. Man, we got some good captures already in this session. Over here, past the grass, we can get a full restore. Very good. Also, I didn't mention it before, but back on Route 47, there's some more areas that we couldn't get to at the moment because they require us to get a certain other move that we do not have access to yet. We're not too far off from getting that one, but yeah, it's going to be a while. We're not going to be able to do that until we have access to Waterfall. So just felt like I mentioned that now. But, past the grass and over the bridge, welcome to the Safari Zone gate. Safari Zone makes me feel like I'm in a foreign country. It brings up a strange feeling. Yeah, it's certainly a very festive area. Oh, you want to buy something? Can you wait while I get ready? Just a minute. Welcome! What do you need? It's got here a pretty exclusive shop, allowing us to buy nest balls, which are okay. Dusk balls, which are always very helpful. So these guys have a higher rate of catching Pokemon at night and inside of caves, which could definitely be very useful to us. Not so much for me personally, because I tend to play these streams during the day, but there are still a few locations where these can be useful. And then, of course, we have Quick Balls. Easily some of the best Pokeballs you can get. They have an increased catching rate on Pokemon when they're used on the first turn of the battle. They are so damn helpful, and I just know they're going to be useful to us in the future, so that's why I want to grab some of those. While we're at it, let us sort our inventory and move these ones to the front here, because I know Quick Balls are going to be useful. And the Dusk Balls, too. And you can go there. Yep, you can just kind of see just how many of the special Pokeballs we've been getting from Apricorns. We've definitely assembled a lot. Yep, let's look around here a bit more. I've decided to carry Pokemon drinks. This will be new to me, but I'll do my best. So we're able to buy vitamins here, giving us another way to increase our Pokemon's effort values. Very nice. There are many Pokemon to choose from, but nothing beats the cuteness of Slowpoke. People often say I look like one. Oh? I don't believe that's meant to be a compliment. Safari! Safari! It's so much fun! Safari! So interesting, huh? So many Pokemon are waiting for us. That's a song I made up. I sing it when I'm in the Safari Zone. I have always wanted to catch my first Pokemon at the Safari Zone. We'll definitely want to check that out. This Safari Zone is great! I just kept going after Pokemon. That made my Jigglypuff upset, though. Yeah, Pokemon do tend to get jealous when their trainers put more attention on some than others. I am not a talker. What about your Kangaskhan? No. Alright, I guess trainers in Pokemon tend to attract very like-minded individuals. Ooh, we found a hidden elixir. That's good. What else can we find here? It's always good to check what we can find with our item finder. Another elixir. That is quite interesting. We've got 2 elixirs here, considering all field items are randomized. Over here is a nugget. Alright, so we'll definitely want to sell all of that very soon. Alright, but into the main event I want to take care of here. Let's go heal our Pokemon first. And also be a nice opportunity to check some of our new catches. After a long walk in the mountains to find a Pokemon Center, when you're just about to fall flat, then it feels like you're in paradise. Yeah, sure. Those who come to a Pokemon Center often take good care of their Pokemon. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I think so. Very quickly, what I want to do is... let us switch Cookie back in, because we are going to need to fly. Yeah, we'll give Sahara a break. She's already done a lot of good work for us recently, so you just enjoy that. And we'll take a look at our Pokemon here. So, of course, we have Atlas with Limber, which prevents paralysis. Could be helpful. Cucumber has Hustle, which isn't really the best ability, but you will evolve very soon, so you're not going to have that for much longer. And then, of course, we have Neil with Marble Scale. Oh, that's such a good ability. Just perfect for a tank like Umbreon. Some very good counters we have here. And with that, we've actually filled up our reserves box, which is definitely very nice. Yeah, it's going to be a little while before we are going to be able to fill up another box, but yeah, this is something I really like about Nuzlocking the Johto games. You get so many encounters, which definitely makes it pretty useful in that regard. There are still some issues with Nuzlocking this particular game, but I don't know, we've done pretty well so far. Oh, Ethan's calling us. Yo, what up, Ethan? You know, my dad was tackled by a Pokemon and now his lower back hurts. It seems that I thought they were only playing around. Well, it wasn't anything big, so that's good to hear. I'll talk to you later. Ah, jeez, just imagine injuries being done by Pokemon that don't know their own strength. Like, I know it gets brought up in their Pokedex entries, but Phanpy are baby elephants, and they're known for having the strength to just total a card just by not really realizing their own strength. And then there's Beware, which is able to break someone's bones just by giving it a hug because it's so flippin' strong. Man, Pokemon are scary, man. Many of them may be gentle to humans, but they're still some very scary creatures. Alright, with that taken care of, let us head into the main event here. Hi, I've been waiting for you. What do you think? This is a brand new Safari Zone, by the way. I just had an idea. Would you like to take the owner aptitude test? Sure. Right on. Let me explain how the test works. It's very easy. All you have to do is catch one Geodude at the Safari and show it to me. They're in the grass closest to the entrance. It shouldn't take long before you catch one. Good luck. Yeah, I kinda doubt we're actually gonna be able to do that, considering... Is this your first time here at the Safari Zone? Yes, it is. At the Safari Zone, you can enjoy a Safari game where you're given 30 Safari Balls and try to catch Pokemon. When you run out of Safari Balls, the game is over. When you see a Pokemon, you can choose to throw bait or mud. If you throw bait, Pokemon tend to stay but will become more difficult to catch. If you throw mud, it'll become easier to catch, but the Pokemon may flee. Have fun at the Safari Zone. Hello, Lydia. Welcome to the stream here. So yeah, we got an interesting facility here. I'm sorry, but this can't be used yet. Warden Bayoba has a great plan for this machine, or so he says, but even we don't know what it is. It's a secret. This is the reception for the Safari Zone link, or should I say, it's going to be. We're still not ready. Please come back later. I doubt that. So yeah, what we have here is a facility where we're able to capture Pokemon that we would not normally be able to obtain at this point in the game. It's completely new to Heart Gold and Soul Silver here in the Johto region, and it's quite interesting. Probably the most involved out of all the Safari Zones we have seen in the series at this point. Welcome to the Safari Zone. With just $500, you can play the Safari game. You can roam the wide open Safari Zone and catch whatever you like. Would you like to play? Sure thing. That'll be $500, please. So we're gonna get 30 Safari Balls, which means we have 30 attempts to capture a Pokemon in here. Oh, it's already happening. No. Oh god, and we can't save right now either. Well, this is bad. Of course it would happen right now when I hadn't saved in a while. Ooh boy. I feel like the safe thing to do right now is to just retire. Have fun, please come again. Yeah, just ignore the screen being black right now. We'll get this fixed up in a jiffy. Yeah, I know, right? Out of all the glitches we've experienced in this so far, that's definitely been one of the funnier ones. Oh boy. This game, man. I do not know why Heart Gold and Soul Silver specifically are the most difficult ones to emulate, but they are. Alright, we're back out safe and sound. So hopefully this won't glitch out on us if we try this again. Yep, Cookie is here. Alright, good, we're normal. So the Safari Zone here in Heart Gold and Soul Silver is quite different from the ones back in the previous games. So the Safari Zone is made up of 6 quadrants. Well, I don't think quadrants is the right word for 6, but there are 6 areas, each with different habitats, and as such, different Pokemon encounters you can make here. The layouts here are typically very different, but the main one at the front will always be the same regardless of which file you're playing. So yeah, all these 6 different areas have different Pokemon encounters you can make here. So with all these different areas, there comes the question. How does this count for your Nuzlocke encounters? Well, one rule that I tend to see people do is they make it so that they are only allowed to capture the first thing that they encounter in the Safari Zone. However, that does present itself with a few difficulties because of the actual capture mechanics in this area. By that, why don't we actually go show this off, as was hinted at by one of the receptionists in this area. So, just walk in the grass, and ooh, encountered a Graveler. That's not a Geodude as was previously stated, but still a decent encounter to get here. So yeah, we have a few options for what we can do when we encounter Pokemon here. Instead of sending out our Pokemon to battle, we have to go at them ourselves. So options, of course, we can throw the ball and attempt to catch a Pokemon. And whether the Pokemon will be caught or whether it will do something else is going to be determined like that. So yeah, Pokemon the Safari Zone have a chance of running away from you, which can be a little irritating if you're trying to look for very specific ones. And because of that, Okay, it seems like the Pokemon are not randomized in the Safari Zone, which is definitely good for me, considering it would allow us to show off one of the mechanics here if we'd actually be able to catch this Geodude. Alright, so what I want to do for my Nuzlocke rules in this area, because Pokemon do have a chance of being able to flee here, I'm not going to count only the first encounter here as our eligible catch here. Ooh, Magneton. That is a low priority encounter, but that's still flipping good. So my rule for this area is I'm just going to only use the Safari Ball option and no other options here. And we're going to gauge whether the Pokemon is going to join us or not. So yeah, we'll look around a few different areas and see what the first Pokemon we're actually able to catch here is going to be. And whichever Pokemon we do manage to catch is going to be the one we are going to keep. Alright, I guess it's Magneton. That is a low priority Pokemon, so... Sadly, this means this one is going to be boxed for a long time unless, like, an entire box of Pokemon get killed. Alright, so do we have any name suggestions for our Magneton here? I know we got a few people in the chat, so I'm open to suggestions. Oh god, I can hear my brother using the vacuum outside my room right now. I hope that's not being picked up on the microphone. Okay, kind of a name that came to mind right now that I think is very fitting for your Pokemon here. I'm gonna call you Trilobite. Oh, sorry, just saw your name suggestion there, Lydia. I'm sorry. Yep, want to go with Trilobite because there are 3 Pokemon that make up that particular Pokemon. And then it's also a robot, so I figured Bite as in Megabytes would be pretty fitting. Alright, so with that, we caught a Magneton here in the Safari Zone, so that's going to be our sole catch for this area. So Safari Balls left, will you leave the Safari Zone? Yeah, we're done here. Certainly, please return any Safari Balls you may have remaining. Yeah, honestly, it was quite fun to get to show that off. So, what Bayoba was talking about there before, so the Safari Zone is quite interesting in this particular game, as there are a lot of mechanics to this area that aren't immediately present when you first enter here. So basically, in the Safari Zone here, Bayoba will give you certain tasks that he wants you to complete here. In that case, you need to catch a Geodude inside the Safari Zone for him. And then eventually he will give you a task that will enable you to access the ability to customize the Safari Zone with a bunch of different habitats that aren't immediately available, which also gives you new encounters you're able to get here. And I quite like the Safari Zone here in Johto. Sure, you still have the typical things you have to do here with Pokemon being able to flee and all that, but there are so many Pokemon you can encounter here that you would not normally be able to see until much later on in the game. And you're able to access all these Pokemon pretty much as soon as you have access to Surf, because you do not have to beat Chuck's gym in order to get access to the Safari Zone. Just giving the medicine to Amphi is what triggers this whole area. So yeah, could definitely be worth it to come here and try to get some exclusive Pokemon that you wouldn't be able to obtain otherwise. Definitely very helpful. Alright, looking at Trilobite here, you have Rivalry, which is definitely not a useful ability to you. But yep, we are going to tuck this guy over here into our infamy box here because of a specific rule that I have during these streams. By that, I mean that any Pokemon that I have previously used during my older streams are ones that I cannot use until I've exhausted all other possible encounters. So any Pokemon I previously brought to the Hall of Fame is not able to be used at this point, which includes our previously obtained Fearow here, as well as Trilobite the Magneton. So yep, that is what that is about. Kind of a weird rule, but I definitely feel like it's going to help freshen things up in this run compared to some of my previous streams. Because yeah, I do want to try to use new Pokemon in every stream series I do for this series. Alright, with that taken care of, pretty much everything we can do in this section of the map for the time being. Oh man, we actually managed to get this done in pretty good time, just under an hour. But yep, with that said, we are all done with this section here. So, it's about time that we get moving on in the actual story progress of this adventure. Alright, first thing I want to do is sell some of the items that we had obtained in the previous routes, because we got a lot of money here. We also found a mental herb that snaps a Pokemon out of infatuation, which is a unique status ailment that can only be obtained from certain moves or abilities. Not really useful in story mode, considering that it is a item that is spent after it is used once. But yeah, we managed to get a lot of good stuff around Cianwood. Just really cool how much this area just opens up and just gets to show off a lot of new stuff you're able to do here in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So I do feel these are really good remakes. Some people may have some issues with them, but they still add a lot of great content that freshens up the Johto experience. It's so good. But yeah, with that taken care of, I feel like it is time for us to move on with the story. Managed to make some considerable progress here, so yep, it's time to move on. We've gotten all of our main preparations done, so time to move out. There is another area coming up that we could explore, but I'm probably going to save that for a later session, considering some of the stuff that's going to be available to us in the future. But with that said, I do want to bring a Pokemon into our team at the moment in order to be able to do some stuff. Specifically, we're going to want to bring in Walker because they have access to Cut, which is going to be useful in an area coming up. Alright, so Cookie, thank you for your flying assistance, but we're probably not going to need you for most of this session. We might bring you back in later. Alright, so with all of that taken care of, we've got a lot of calls from our mom, so let's head into the store and see what she sent us. So we got Chople Berries, believes that halves the damage of fighting type attacks, and a Hyper Potion. Pretty good item. We're able to buy those at the department store, so just a nice little gift from our mom. Alright, with all that taken care of, it's time to move out. So we're going to be heading back to Route 42, an area we briefly visited just so that we could obtain the Strength HM. We could head into that cave to get some new encounters, but I'm going to say that for a bit later. However, what isn't something that we're going to be saving here is that we can actually catch some new Pokemon here, as we had not previously got an encounter in Route 42. So we could encounter one in the grass, or we could find one in the water. A lot of options for us. Ooh, look at that, though. There's something in this little grove. Ah! There he goes, without a word. Suicune, how brave it is, how refreshing it is, how beautiful it is, and how quickly it moves. July, you seem to be around where Suicune would appear. Well, that's okay. My desire to search for Suicune is far beyond yours. My grandpa was quite into myths. I've heard so many stories about Suicune from him. Suicune, I won't stop following you until I've found out what you're after. You hear me? Well, he's clearly not after you. Yeah, Yusin's a neat character. Not one I am particularly interested in, but he does have a few neat stuff to him. I mean, without him, our Luxio wouldn't have evolved into a Luxray, so I'm grateful to him for that. But yeah, we got a lot of apricorn trees in this little grove that you can access with Cut. It's a nice way to build up your apricorn supplies and get some more Pokeballs. And over here we can get a Revive. Not going to be useful to us, but we could sell that later. And are there any hidden items around here? Doesn't look like it. Alright, Snorkel, take us away. The next couple of battles, I definitely want to lead things with Snorkel, as we're getting close to getting a very nice upgrade for him here, and be very nice to get to do that. Alright, looks like our encounter here is Farfetch'd. A Farfetch'd with Sandstream. Really? Yeah, not too excited about this thing, especially because its ability is actually detrimental to it. But it is our encounter, so it'd be nice to at least get it off the table. For Pokeball supplies here, Farfetch are a little tricky to catch, so let's go for our Ultra Balls. Just see what we can get here. Man, we've had really good luck with the Ultra Balls. Yep, that is Farfetch'd in the bag. Alright, considering your name and a certain thing that has been going on involving Pokemon very lately, we're gonna call you Miku. To the box with you, Miku. Yeah, I feel like that would be very fun to actually talk about. Very recently, Pokemon actually did a collaboration with the virtual character Hatsune Miku. And it was just very cool to see. Got a bunch of different artists who designed Pokemon in the past, who were all designing various different looks for Miku based on various different trainer types. So you'd have Miku, who designed like a grass-type trainer, and her partner is a Rillaboom. Or having her designed after a fighting-type trainer, and her main Pokemon is a Surfetch, that kind of thing. Just very cool to see all the different designs they have for her, and just having it translate very nicely to the Pokemon series. Just, the artist did such a phenomenal job with the artwork. It was so good, and all the different Miku designs are top-notch. But yeah, nice thing here, definitely want to talk to this guy. As I believe that this particular fisherman, in Crystal and Heart Gold and Soul Silver, he will call you occasionally in order to give water stones. Which is definitely nice if you're looking to evolve one of your team members or fill up the Pokedex. Though it's not too useful to us because we are able to acquire evolution stones at the Pokeflon. But that said, we actually got a few stone evolutions, so might want to do something about that going forward. So let's take care of some of the other trainers around here. We do have access to a new dungeon at this point, but I'm going to save that for a bit later. One of the actual... just one of the later sessions I want to save it for, mainly because there's not going to be much we're going to be doing before one of the next gyms, and just want to make sure we have plenty of time for that. Okay, Elekid here. We'll go to Sparkles. You're just very good for... Yep, just very good to use against an electric type because you naturally resist the type. Yeah, I am quite acquainted with Miku's association with leaks there, Apple Tree. I've been on the internet for a long time, so I do pick up on these things. And Love Disc. Well, that's easy experience right there. Like I said with Fione, there are just some Pokemon that feel like they don't really deserve to be here, and Love Disc is one of them. It's trash. Which I believe I've already said during these streams in the past. None of your Pokemon evolved with a Moonstone, kid. Working on a Pokedex? Wow, you must know some pretty rare Pokemon. May I please see it? Please? No, get your own. What's the other side of Mount Mortar like? Do you know? If you can beat me, I'll let you know. I don't know, but I do hear a certain karate master is on the other side of the mountain. We'll see him eventually. Ooh, Rattata. It's been a while since we've seen these little guys, hasn't it? So yeah, what's some other stuff we can talk about while we're just making our way through these battles and get to the next area? So I had a pretty good day today. It's mostly relaxing on my day off, considering that earlier this week I had to work 7 days in a row, which was very exhausting, and was also mainly the reason why we hadn't really had a stream session until today. But yeah, I was just swamped with work lately, and I just needed some time off after that before I really felt the need to get back into streams. But we're back on the old grind again, which definitely makes me happy, because I really like doing these streams. It's very fun to me. But yeah, today has been pretty nice. Went out to Krabby Joe's and had myself some lunch today, and it's very good. I had myself a really nice burger. Yes, very good. Sometimes gotta treat yourself to some junk after a lot of work, you know? And yeah, I've also been mentally preparing myself for some of the things I want to do later, because today is the last month of September, and in the next couple of days is usually when a lot of artists, such as myself, tend to do certain art challenges. And there's one in particular I'm really excited for. Are you off to see the Gyarados rampage at the lake? Ooh, that could be interesting to look into. But yep, welcome to Mahogany Town, a brand new area on our adventure. We could have gone here a lot sooner, as soon as we had obtained Surf. Actually, we didn't even need to do that. We could just pass through Mount Mortar in order to get here. But yeah, I just wanted to wait a while before we came over here, because there's not much we could really do here in terms of story progression until after acquiring Surf. And that's also just kind of where the game leads you to do after the whole stuff in Cianwood and Olivine. So yeah, Miku here doesn't look like you're going to be that helpful to us. Not like I would even want to use a Farfetch during a Nuzlocke run. I did that before, and he did not last very long. What's this? Team Rocket's come back. I saw some men in black at the Lake of Rage. You saw K and J? Pokemon do become stronger when they evolve, but they also learn moves more slowly. Yep, that is definitely a reason you may want to prevent a Pokemon's evolution, as they do tend to learn moves at a faster rate when they're in their earlier stages. I stop my Pokemon from evolving too early. I make them learn certain moves before I let them evolve. Yep, that is a legitimate strategy. There are also some attacks that Pokemon can only learn when they're in their younger stage as compared to when they are fully evolved. So that's also something to consider. Have you seen this guy with a black cape? He's been going back and forth between here and the Lake of Rage, saying strange radio waves are being transmitted. Who is he, I wonder? I don't know, but you're blocking the gym, fat ass. Now, we'll take care of that later. I was mentioning something about radio waves. How about we bring up our radio? Well, that's weird. All of our channels are just broadcasting the same song. Quite unnerving. Just a souvenir shop. Nothing suspicious about it. No need to be alarmed. Well, now I'm alarmed. The experiment worked like a charm. Magikarp are just worthless, but Gyarados are big money makers. Uh-huh. Huh? You heard wind blowing into this room? That's just me whistling. Enough about that. Why don't you buy something? So I've got a little shop here in Mahogany Town, because this place doesn't actually have an actual shop here. We just have this little store. There's not much that we can do here, so we're not going to buy anything. It's kind of a normal looking area. That's a funny tree. Hiya, kid! I see you're new in Mahogany Town. Since you're new, you should try a yummy Rage Candy Bar. Right now, it can be yours for just $300. Want one? Yeah, sure. You get a Rage Candy Bar, which goes in the key items pocket. I remember a person from as far as Kanto came to buy one a long time ago. I happen to have none in stock then. That person left rather upset. I felt kind of sorry for that. So the Rage Candy Bar we picked up is a key item in this game in particular. It's just a little candy that is very popular, as it's made in this area exclusively. Thanks for that, sir. I don't want to upset you after buying one from me, but buying a Rage Candy Bar has nothing to do with whether I'll allow you to pass through here. Johto has many places to visit, such as the lighthouse at Olivine and the pharmacy at Cianwood. Why don't you slow down and enjoy sightseeing? So yep, until we reach a certain point in the story, that guy is going to block our access to that path east of Mahogany. I heard that a red Gyarados appeared at the Lake of Rage. That's odd, since even ordinary Gyarados are rare in that lake. My top radio show? I'd say Pokemon Music. Yeah, not like we can access that channel at this point. Yeah, Mahogany Town, just a simple little town here. And for the record, there are trees here that you could headbutt. However, I'm pretty sure there aren't any Pokemon you can actually catch here through using headbutt. None of the trees will give you Pokemon. Kinda sad. So, there's no other path to go but up. I heard you can find a red scale occasionally. Speaking of which, I know a person who'd appreciate a red scale. Who? I can't remember. Well, that's convenient. So yeah, we're gonna head up to Route 43, which means new encounters. I can do so much of my Pokemon. It's super fun. Alright, we got ourselves a lot of stuff we're going to be doing in this area. There's a lot of trainers to battle. There's some more encounters we can make. A lot of new items that we can find here. So, what is some other stuff that we can talk about? So very recently, one of the things I've been doing lately is I wanted to get back into, just realized we should have pulled Walker out of our party here. I don't know if we're going to need a Pokemon with Cut going forward. We probably will, but I don't see it being that useful to us. Now, we'll think about it later. But yeah, very recently, something I wanted to do is I wanted to replay a Spyro-free Year of the Dragon on a copy of Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. Which, very fitting to do, considering that I had recently went through Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage on that same game. And yeah, but just very nice to do, because just want to familiar myself more with the game, and also take some notes for when I eventually get around to streaming it. It's probably going to be quite a while before I actually stream that game, because we still have to do Ripto's Rage. But yeah, just wanted to go through that game again, and it was a very good time. Comparing it to the first two games, I definitely really like Year of the Dragon. It does have a few iffy points that I feel like we'll definitely talk a lot more in depth when we eventually get to streaming it. But overall, I still really liked it. It's just a good time with a game series that I really liked and growing up with as a kid. Yeah, we will bring Sahara back with us and put Walker back in the box for now. So, yep, I definitely had a good time revisiting that game, and it'll definitely be nice to get to eventually stream it and give my full thoughts on the package, because it's definitely an interesting game to talk about, considering a lot of the content within it and some of the things it has you doing. But yeah, that is a story for another time. But yeah, just a very fun playthrough. Managed to 100% the game again, which I always tend to do when I do those kind of games. So over here... Oh my god, I found a Vampy! That's an account I definitely really like to see, even though it brings back some memories of a certain Pokemon we encountered earlier in this journey. Because of that... roll out. We should probably be able to catch this thing just fine. We'll use a Great Ball because it matches your color scheme here. And hopefully we don't have to worry about this rollout. There we go. Man, that is still a good catch, and potentially a useful teammate should something happen to Sahara. Definitely a strong physical attacker and also a physical tank. Could be useful to us in the future. Alright. Now, as I typically ask our chat here, do we have any nicknames we could give to this little elephant? I kind of have some ideas, but I want to hear what some people can suggest first. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking for this one, pretty simple name, but I was thinking we call you Ellie. It's a pretty fitting name for you, given that you're an elephant. And just a cute little girl, so it's a cute name for cute elephant. So while we're just going through this area and dealing with some of the trainers here, I do want to bring up that because this is technically an area that you could do before challenging the 4th gym, a lot of the levels on the trainers here reflect that, where most of them are in the teens and 20s. And you don't really encounter a whole lot of big surprises here. I mean, some people here tend to use some pretty high-tier Pokemon that you wouldn't normally expect at this point. But for the most part, it's going to be some pretty easy battles.
Hi, you like Clefairy too? They're so very cute, aren't they? We would be good friends. I want to know your phone number. Let's talk about Clefairy.
I don't know, you seem more like a Kabuto fan to me.
Isn't my Clefairy super adorable?
That's not a Clefairy! You're carrying around a fossilized horseshoe crab. Nah, whatever. Yep, I knew we needed cut in this area. Okay, we just needed it to be able to access that tree, and there's not even a hidden item here, so it's not a big loss. This area also has a couple of split paths here with a lot of different areas you can access, so it could give us some interesting different pathways for this area. And allows us to access some different things that we can do here. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that now that Snorkel is level 31, I'm keeping him in the front of the party so that he can gain experience. Because he is very, very close. Oh, my little speedy seahorse. You have been with us since the very first session here, and I'm just so happy with the amount of progress that you have gained with us. So let's finish this. Well, not exactly finish, considering you still have some other stuff you can do, but, you know, let's get you some good progress in growing up, buddy. Next encounter here is Magmortar. Woo boy, that's definitely stronger than what we previously encountered here. Yeah. This fisherman here, he normally have a Gyarados in his party, which is why he's using such a strong Pokemon here. That's why I said some of the trainers here can surprise you with some high-tier Pokemon. Definitely watch out if you're doing a randomizer run. Ooh, Ian's calling us. Hey, listen up. A few days ago I was trying to catch a wild Nidoran. Went down the wire, but it ended up getting away. Really should have had a bunch of Pokeballs ready, I know. Yeah, always good to be stocked up on supplies, which is why I have definitely done that. And got a ton of different balls we get. Up here, we have a new area, the Lake of Rage. Definitely going to explore a lot more of this in a bit. Just want to show this off because this is an exclusive section that you can reach back here. Well, not exactly exclusive. But from this side here, it gives us a little hint up here about what we're eventually going to encounter. Possibly. So yeah, normally this is an area you wouldn't be able to access too much, but we'll explore more of the Lake of Rage in a little bit. First, I want to clear up all the stuff we can do on Route 43, because there's still a lot of trainer battles to do here. In fact, if we head over this way, we actually don't need to use Surf in order to access this part of the route. It's just a handy little shortcut over to this area. Son, you definitely haven't gotten a lot of attention in this session, so nice to have you out and get us a little bit of experience here. I just really don't like just random status ailments we're getting from wild battles. It especially feels insulting because wild battles you can at least avoid a lot more easily than trainer battles. So when your Pokemon does get afflicted with a status ailment, it just feels worse. Luckily, we do have some antidotes, so no worries. So what do you got? Would you get this? Some redhead kid made fun of my precious Pokemon. Huh, my Pokemon's great. Yeah, we'll see about that, buddy. So Ron here's got Mamoswine. That is a fully evolved Ice Ground type Pokemon. We're gonna kill this thing in one hit probably, but still, that is a beefcake of a Pokemon. So I previously did use a Mamoswine during my Platinum streams, and it's definitely one of my coolest team members I got to use in that run. My Nidoking was outstanding. That was not a Nidoking. It's okay for people to like different types of Pokemon. Pokemon isn't just having the most powerful one. Yeah, though some people tend to obsess a little too much over which ones are higher tier compared to others. Which, since I'm mentioning that, it kind of reminds me of something that Chugger Conroy brought up a few times during his recent Let's Play of Pokemon White 2. How he was discussing how a lot of people complain about the Pokemon games being too easy these days. And talking about how they need like a difficulty system where that old players would be able to get to have a more challenging run compared to beginners. And Emil brought up a very good point. There is a difficulty option built into the game. It's called Use Weak Pokemon. Seriously, I think a lot of people just get too hung up about that kind of thing, you know. But with that said, Snorkel's finally evolved! Woo! Oh, this is something I've been so excited for so long. We caught our little Snorkel all the way. Oh, you got something in your mouth. Give me that. Dude, you could have been choking. Come on. It's heading this way with something in its mouth. Dude. What is Snorkel doing? Why does it keep shoving things in his little snout? But yeah, let's take a look at Snorkel now that you are evolved. Definitely some much nicer stats here. You have Scrappy now, which unfortunately is not a good ability for you, since you're mainly a water user. But yeah, just look at those stats. Much better than the ones we saw when you were a little horsey. And definitely very nice. It's really bringing Snorkel in a good position on this team now. I honestly didn't think that we'd actually get Snorkel evolved to this point because Horsey has some pretty low stats throughout most of the game that we were going through, but he managed to pull through and has been a key party member throughout a good chunk of this journey. And considering one of the options we have in this randomizer run, he may get to grow even stronger with time. But with that said, something I definitely want to bring attention to when you're in this area. You see that gate over there? It's a trap. Do not go through that gate until you are much further along in the story, or else some Team Rocket grunts will shake you down for some of your money. It sucks, and you do not want that to happen. Ooh, Curlia. That would have also been a really good encounter here, considering that, God, you just turned into one of the best special attackers in the game. Yep, been a little distracted by a lot of different topics at the moment, but yeah. Unknown L. Well, definitely taking an L with this Pokemon encounter. Man, imagine if we ran into that instead of the Phanpy. That would have been disappointing. I mean, we've already encountered quite a few good Pokemon at this point, so wouldn't be too worried if we got a dud like that, but, you know. Scudder sells another Pokemaniac here with a Mawile. That is a Pokemon I seldom see people use. At least outside of the generations where it has its Mega Evolution. Because in those games, man, Mawile is such a powerhouse. It's one of the favorite Pokemon that you can use in the Generation 6 and 7 games. Once you're able to get its Mega Stone, it is so good. And on the opposite side of the spectrum here, we have Dustox, which is just kind of an annoying defensive bug-type Pokemon. Not particularly strong, but it does know a lot of moves that can annoy you, like this one is doing, by exclusively using Protect and nothing else. Just get out of here. I just need you to be experienced. I know, right? That's insane, considering that Protect loses effectiveness the more times you use it. So it getting to pull it off that many times is quite annoying. By the way, you're a Pokemaniac, I can tell. Yes, you are. Your knowledge is shallow still. You know Bill? He's an incredible Pokemaniac. I revere him. I'll teach you all I know about Bill, so leave me your phone number. Dude, I already know plenty of Bill. I've known Bill since before you were programmed. Bill, he's more than amazing. To be a Pokemaniac like him someday, that's my dream. Yeah, but as you can no doubt tell, a lot of the Pokemaniac trainers tend to be a little on the off-side mentally. I mean, it could be probably assumed that they have a few disorders like ADHD and possibly on the autism spectrum, but Demise deceived me. I saw red Gyarados in the Lake of Rage, but I thought Gyarados were usually blue. I don't know. That doesn't exactly look like a Gyarados to me. The Gyarados are angry. It's a bad omen. So, this area here, the Lake of Rage. I heard this lake was made by rampaging Gyarados. I wonder if there's any connection to their mass outbreak now. Quite a few things we can see here in the Lake of Rage right now. We will take on the big guy in a little bit. But for now, let's just look around Lake of Rage and see what we can find. Because there's quite a few things we can find in this area if we surf around on the water surface. So here we get an HP up, and very close by, a hidden Lepa Berry. Nice. Definitely be nice to try to cultivate some more Lepa Berries, because those are pretty much ethers that you're able to generate multiples of, and that's always very good to do. Whoa! Okay! So the reason we encountered this thing here. Let's go into this. So yeah, Lake of Rage. This is an area where you can encounter Gyarados just by surfing around. And Gyarados have some of the highest stats of any Pokemon you can normally obtain in the game. So because of that, the same strength randomizer turned it into a Moltres. So yeah, this thing potentially could be just one of the best Pokemon that we could catch in this run. Oh boy. So Moltres, this thing is pretty darn good. In single player, you don't have to worry about a lot of things that Moltres does, like you don't have to worry about Stealth Rock and all that, so it is actually pretty viable here. And it's really risky to try to catch you because this thing is a legendary, and as such, it has a legendary catch rate, which is very poor. Yeah, this is not the roaming legendary. I believe Raikou and Entei are able to get up here, but as I probably stated before, Raikou and Entei are not affected at all by the randomizer because they're not static encounters. Oh man, if we could actually catch this thing, that'd be so good. This thing is just a very fast attacker, It's access to a lot of good fire and flying attacks, and even a few other attacks that could be pretty dang useful. But then again, it's a legendary Pokemon, which means it's very difficult. Ugh, that would have been perfectly timed if we actually caught it there. But yeah, we just kind of have to weather this thing's blows and see what we can do. I'm mainly using Sparkles here, just on the off chance it has a flying attack at this level. Oh man, if we could actually catch this, this would be amazing. Yeah, it does have flying attacks, so that's very good. Oh man. Man, this is just gonna completely take over a lot of the things I have planned for this session, considering that we're gonna mainly be spent trying to catch this thing. That's not even considering one of the other things we can do in this area. Oh, man. But yeah, this also ties greatly into some of the stuff that was talked about by the NPCs. How the Lake of Rage was originally formed by Gyarados that migrated to this area. However, Gyarados are actually pretty rare in this area, though you are able to encounter them just by surfing or fishing in this area. However, something's going on here that are making the Magikarp in the area evolve much earlier than they're supposed to, thus causing there to be Gyarados in this area in greater numbers than they're normally supposed to be, and that's effing up the local ecology of the area. So yeah, quite interesting. I mean, what are we gonna do for this thing? We have plenty of Pokeballs we can use here. We could try Level Ball. That does work on Pokemon that are lower level than us. And it also matches Moltres' color scheme quite well with the orange and the red on there. Aw, man, this would be so amazing if we managed to catch you. Especially because of how hard we failed to catch the legendary birds back in our Platinum streams. But yeah, I'm not expecting this to be a very quick catch. Moltres is a legendary Pokemon, and its catch rate is notoriously low. So we could be here a while, and we might not even be able to catch the thing. I'm not too worried about this thing's attacks at the moment. Come on, come on! Oh, we were so close! Come on, Moltres, stop being a button, let me catch you. I guess we could switch Sahara in order to yawn this thing. I'm not too worried about this thing getting in a lot of hard hits with Sahara, because it doesn't look like it has a whole lot of very strong moves. I do not believe that is going to help us here, Javier. Yeah, we're all out of level balls. I guess we could try our timer ball. That one has a higher success rate the longer a battle lasts. So, nope, didn't work. Stupid kitchen timer. Okay, this thing is doing so little damage to Sparkles that I feel like Sahara would be a better switch in. And we can also yawn this thing in order to get some status ailments in, and ooh, it has Hyper Cutter. That's not actually too useful on you, sadly. But still, this is a very strong Pokemon, so it could be worth getting. At least for the novelty of actually having a legendary Pokemon caught in a Nuzlocke run. What are we gonna do? I'm pretty sure Love Balls are gonna be ineffective because I don't believe they get a boost on genderless Pokemon. I really don't know what your weight's gonna be, so heavy balls are probably gonna be just okay. Dusk balls are not gonna work because it's not nighttime. I believe we have to wait until 8 p.m. before those things are effective on the overworld. I guess we could try the fastball, kind of matches your colors. But I believe these ones are more geared to specifically catching Pokemon that are able to run away. So I don't believe it's going to be too useful against Moltres here. Yeah, I'm not too worried about this thing's attacks, but oh boy. Okay, it's put to sleep now, so that's good. I guess all we can do is just try anything. We don't really have any good balls in this situation now, so just best to just throw and hope for the best. God, if we can actually catch this thing, that'd be amazing. So yeah, this is definitely one of the interesting points of doing a randomizer run. Sometimes you just run into that one Pokemon that is just such an insane encounter that you pour all your resources into trying to catch it, only for it to not work and ultimately you have to say goodbye to a good encounter. It happens to the better of us, and there's not really much we can do about it. So yeah, this session is definitely in an interesting spot here. This is definitely going to F with my plans a bit, considering what I was going to do in this session. Yeah, I am well acquainted with this, this thing is so difficult to catch that even inflicting status ailments on it only boosts our chance of catching it by a little bit. It's still a really tough Pokemon to try to catch. Oh, yeah! We got it! Woo! This legendary bird Pokemon is said to bring early spring to the wintry lands it visits. God damn! So yeah, we actually caught ourselves a legendary Pokemon. I am willing to take any suggestions from the chat because I really don't have a name for this thing at the moment. Oh man, that's so amazing. We actually got a legendary Pokemon. The first wild legendary we could actually get as a legitimate encounter. And we actually caught it. Oh, that's so good. Oh boy. I don't believe that's going to fit unless we, like, abbreviate it. Nope. Ooh, I actually do like that suggestion, Kentucky. I mean, pretty simple joke. It's literally fried chicken. Sure, we'll name you Kentucky. God! Damn! Well, that was definitely the highlight of this stream. In a stream that already had some pretty good moments in it. Damn. Okay, Sahara, Sparkles, you girls could definitely use some lemonade after that. You did so well weakening this thing and just lasting against its hits. Oh boy. Yep, I should have expected us to actually run into a legendary here, considering that we can encounter Wild Gyarados, and this is a same strength Nuzlocke run. But yep, we'll probably encounter even a few other things. Of course, there's a Wurmple here. Yep, the only other Pokemon you can get by surfing here is the Magikarp that are typically found here. But, as was clearly demonstrated, you can also find legendaries. So yeah, we definitely lucked out when it came to our first encounters in this area. It also has me a bit worried about one of the other things that we can see here. Considering what the big event in this area is. Wow, level 20 Wurmple. That thing is twice the level it should be in order to be fully evolved. Yay. It's like I'm fighting Team Galactic runs in Diamond and Pearl. There's a good answer to that question there, Lydia. And the answer is, shit's fucked. Alright, Sun got a very nice level there. It's gonna be a little while before Sun's gonna evolve, but he is close. Because he just needs 5 more levels. And Sahara's also very close, because I believe you just need 4 levels in order to evolve. We'll get to that eventually. There's some more stuff I want to show here in the Lake of Rage, since we have access to Surf. Which is also why I didn't want to... Ooh, that's a normal encounter here. Which is also why I didn't want to go to this area until after acquiring all the stuff we need in... from around the whole Ekritik area. Because we wouldn't be able to access all the stuff here until after acquiring Surf. And obviously that was the right call, considering we encounter Moltres here. And considering our other encounters we gotten here, yeah, we really lucked out. Wurmple with Ice Body. That is such an odd ability for you to have. I believe that does grant you an immunity to hail damage, since that does heal you when you're in a hailstorm. I'm debating whether we want to use repels here, because I really don't think these battles are going to give us a whole lot of experience. So while Pokemon here are still kind of low level, and also low tier, well, we got our main encounter for this area, so I guess it's not too big of a deal if we even have repels on us. Yep, we have a few. Besides, this is a big area with a lot of different pathways, so definitely want to explore as much of this as we can. Boy, that one encounter just really shook things up when it came to our progress here, didn't it? And that's not even counting the other thing that we can do here, which, given how the same strength rules have applied to static encounters, I don't believe we're going to be able to... Well, it's very likely that we're not going to encounter something as crazy as that Moltres when we encounter the big thing here. Since a lot of the static encounters so far have been kind of random, you know? Alright, so that pathway has nothing for us. At least for the time being. Lake of Rage is interesting because this area does change a bit in its layout with time. Where if you go to this area on certain days, most of the water in the lake will have drained. And it actually opens up some pathways down here you wouldn't be able to access otherwise. Meanwhile, with the lake raised like this, we're able to get up onto these cliffs and acquire some useful stuff. Like TM for Bullet Seed. It's actually kind of a weak grass-type move, and at this point in the game, it's really not that useful to us. Alright, but over here, we're able to find this little house. We talk to this character. You have strayed far. Here I have meditated. Inside me a new power has been awakened. Let me share my power with your Pokemon. Take this, child. He gives us TM10. Do you see it? It is hidden power. It draws on the power of Pokemon for attacking. Remember this, its type and power depend on the Pokemon using it. Yeah, this is an interesting move. Not one I really use a whole lot. Basically, all Pokemon have a special hidden value to them that determines the type and power of this very specific move. Well, your Pokemon's hidden power will range greatly depending on just your Pokemon's base statistics that are determined when it's first generated. In some circumstances, this move can be useful. It can help certain Pokemon be able to cover their weaknesses by giving them an exclusive attack from a type that they would not normally be able to learn, which could definitely help them to cover their weaknesses. However, I really don't see this being too useful to us because, yeah, just very hard in order to determine which Pokemon are going to have which hidden power at this point. And along with that, there are just a lot of better moves that I feel are more useful during these kind of challenge runs. I don't really see hidden power being that helpful to us. So, yep, that's my piece on it. Not really that helpful, but it could be useful in certain circumstances. And this thing is also packing a TM? Jeez. That's TM73. What is that? Sadly, it looks like our Moltres has a negative special attack nature, so that kind of sucks. But hey, it's still a decent Pokemon. Alright, 73, that's Thunder Wave. That might be good to give to Sparkles. That gives you a nice other status move that you can inflict on opponents. But yeah, real reason I want to go to box is because I want to pick up our Flying Bird. Also, Ellie has Poison Point. Interesting. Hey, Cookie. Sorry to say, but we have already found a way better Flying-type Pokemon than you. I'm sorry. Yep, what I'm doing right now is I want to head back to Goldenrod City, because we need to stock up on supplies before we go tackle the main thing at the Lake of Rage. So just give me a second to prepare. This should take only a moment. Look, I know we only got a short amount of time to get to know you, Cookie, but come on, it's a Moltres. Sure, the thing is way lower level than you, but that's not going to be much of a factor later on. Alright, that is the potion counter. So want to head up here. Yep, and I want to stock up on some more of these. Sure, we'll just take 10 Ultra Balls. And gonna need some more Great Balls. Yeah, we'll take 10 of these as well. And is there anything we can sell? No, doesn't look like it. Well, we have some revives we could sell, but we don't need to do that until later. Oh, god damn it, using the elevator just totally screwed everything up. Excuse me a second. There's a problem with your escalator. Might want to check up on that. Alright, looks like we're good. So, yep, I want to stock up on some more Pokeballs because got ourselves another potential encounter here. Cookie, we're gonna need you to fly us back to the Lake of Rage. Yep, a detail about this area I actually like quite a bit is the Lake of Rage counts as an important area, so you're actually able to fly here whenever you want. Very useful. So while we're here, you see the big thing over there? We trigger a battle against that thing, and that will be a battle we have to do. Is a Pokemon that we are able to catch. Now, under normal circumstances, some people would argue that, well, we already caught a Pokemon, the Lake of Rage, so I guess we would pass up against this specific Pokemon. However, I feel like this specific encounter is so unique that it's going to count as its own separate entity when it comes to Pokemon encounters here. So before we do this, I think I want to actually teach the Thunderwave TM, now that we got that. To our girl Sparkles, I forget if you learn Thunderwave by level up, but it's just an easy way for us to get this move right now. And it's a good one. I guess we can get rid of Leer, we really don't need that on you. And provided that this thing doesn't get randomized into something really nasty for you, we're going to lead with Sparkles, as you're going to be good for weakening this thing. Let's do this. Okay, I heard its cry, and it did not sound particularly nice. So, yep. Our Gyarados here has been randomized into a Togetic. But not just any Togetic, a shiny Togetic. So, yep, normally, a wild Pokemon has a very, very low chance of spawning in with a different color to it. However, this Gyarados that you encounter here at the Lake of Rage is a special case, where it is always guaranteed to be shiny. And as such, the randomizer makes it so that any Pokemon that it randomized to is also shiny. So yep, we just got ourselves a easy little shiny Pokemon here. What are we gonna do for you? We're kind of in the middle of an encore right now, so we can't weaken you at the moment. We'll just go for the Love Ball and see what happens. No. Yeah, it does have a blue tongue. Quite interesting. Could you stop that, please? I really want to try and weaken you. Can we please get out of this encore? That's such an annoying move to get stuck in when you're trying to catch a Pokemon. This thing also has a Wish, which enables it to heal itself, which is going to make the catching process another bit of a pain to deal with. At this point, Bite shouldn't be able to do too much to you. Yep. Oh, and it has Yawn. This thing is just built to be a pain. Adding to that, this is a Pokemon that is going to be a pain to actually use, considering that it's one that doesn't evolve until you get a specific item. One that, given our current loadout, we're probably not getting for a while. Okay, we're put to sleep, so let's take an opportunity to try and catch this thing. Come on, Sparkles. Yeah, normally Serene Grace would be a good ability to have on this Pokemon. However, abilities are randomized on Pokemon in this run, so that's not going to have that. Alright, come on. Please get you. I want to go for the Love Ball on you specifically because it fits you very nice, because you're a little fairy angel. Alright, we got him! So yep, just like that, we got ourselves a free shiny Pokemon. Yeah, I'm not really going to consider this too major for us and being like, oh my god, we found a shiny Pokemon during a stream series, this is so fantastic! This is a guaranteed shiny Pokemon you're always meant to get during the course of the main story, so it's not really that big of a deal, just here for bragging rights. But with that said, what are we gonna name our shiny little guy? We went through a lot of trouble to get this guy, so he's gotta have a good one. I am open to suggestions. Okay, Popeyes would be funny, but it doesn't really fit you too much. But yeah, I can go with Angel. You definitely have the looks of an angel, so thanks for the suggestion there, Lydia. It's got a shiny guy heading to the box. And we obtain a red scale. That is an exclusive item you're able to get after dealing with the encounter here. So yep, the shiny Gyarados, regardless of whether you defeat or capture it, it will always drop the red scale, which is a pretty neat item for something we're going to be able to do a bit later. Oh, look who it is, a familiar face. That red Gyarados wasn't acting right, as I feared. Somebody must have forced it to evolve. Did you come here because of the wild tales? You're July. I'm Lance, a trainer like you. I heard some rumbling, so I came to investigate. I saw the way you battled earlier, July. I can tell you're a trainer with considerable skill. If you don't mind, could you help me investigate? Sure. Excellent. It seems the Lake of Rage's Magikarp are being forced to evolve. A mysterious radio broadcast coming from Mahogany's the cause. I'll be waiting for you, July. I feel like we have bigger problems to worry about here, Lance, considering that a legendary bird was in this area. Don't worry, I already contained it. But yeah, Lance from the Kanto Games is showing up here. And he's gonna get to do some stuff along with us as we investigate what exactly is going on in this area. However, we are just at the cusp of hitting 2 hours, and I feel like now is a good opportunity to stop. Like, I feel like I'm not going to be able to talk very much going forward, so this is a good point as any to stop things here. But man, this has been a very fun stream just with everything that has been going on. Oh man, there was a lot of cool highlights to this. This was definitely a stream to remember. Yep, how about we go check out on our newest catch here. It did take a while for us to get you. As solar power, that powers up attacks, but causes you to take damage over time when it's in sunny weather. And you're holding a Fit Club. That's an item that's exclusive to the Cubone family and could be pretty useful to us going forward. Impish is also not a very good nature for you, as that cuts your special attack. Of course, 2 of the really good Pokemon I got in this session have bad natures, because of course it has to happen like that. Oh well, we managed to get ourselves quite a lot of new Pokemon. Oh boy, this was definitely a very eventful session. So yeah, I'm definitely going to see what we can do about raising up some of our Pokemon, because it's going to be a little while before the next session, as I have a lot of work to do next week. So, yeah, we'll definitely wait a while to see what exactly is going to be happening next time, but yep, I'll train up some of the Pokemon in the box so that we can get some more evolved. And next time, when we resume the SoulSilver Nuzlocke, we will be joining Lance and seeing what we can do in Mahogany Town. Until next time, have a good day, and take care.